So this is the only grocery store in this whole region, correct?
Yes.
And what's the population?
43.
We only have 91 residents in the township, which is 65 square miles.
Copper Harbor is also the town farthest away from an interstate highway. Do you feel that it's very remote here?
Oh yeah.
My family's been here since 1847.
Since the very beginning.
I'm sort of thinking we're going to have maybe 14 here this winter.
Only 14 total people in the town.
Right.
When most people think of ghost towns, they think of Wild West mining towns in California or Colorado, whose populations exploded before being abandoned almost overnight once the gold ran dry. But did you know that Michigan was actually home to America's very first mining boom? And that it generated more than 10 times as much wealth as the California gold rush? Welcome to the Keweenaw Peninsula, one of the most beautiful, remote, sparsely populated regions of the already beautiful, remote, sparsely populated Upper Peninsula. This right here is the Lady of Peace Catholic Church, directly off of US Route 41, the main highway in the Keweenaw Peninsula. And as you can see, apart from a car that'll drive down maybe every 10 minutes or so, it is almost completely wilderness. Now, the Keweenaw Peninsula is this little finger-shaped thing of the Upper Peninsula. I am currently in the town of Ahmeek. It's actually the smallest town by total area in Michigan. It's only 0.07 square miles. The nearest sizable population center would be Houghton, Michigan, about 17 miles southwest of here. And the nearest real city with a population over 100,000 residents is Green Bay, around 230 miles south of me. I know it may not look like much, and it probably looks completely abandoned, empty streets, deteriorating storefronts. I think that's actually a house up there. They still have the old pasties sign, the official delicacy of the Upper Peninsula. Now, Ahmeek, just like all the other towns we're going to be visiting today, has a lot of history, but it's also one of the newer towns in the Keweenaw Peninsula. It was only founded in 1904. And with a population of 127, it's actually one of the larger towns in the Keweenaw Peninsula. In fact, it's the only incorporated community and one of just 6 census-designated locations in Keweenaw County. There appear to be many dogs barking in the back of that building right there, so you can definitely tell that is lived in. But Keweenaw County is by far the least populous county in Michigan. It only has 2,047 people in the entire county, but it's also the largest county by total area, meaning it has a population density of just 3.7 people per square mile. The least densely populated state is Alaska, 1.3 people per square mile. The second least densely populated state is Wyoming, 6 people per square mile. So if the Keweenaw Peninsula was its own state, it would be the second most sparsely populated state in the nation. It's a miracle that this much of Ahmeek is still standing in one of the most inaccessible parts of America outside of Alaska. The nearest interstate highway is actually over 200 miles away. So the only people that really drive through here are tourists and people that live here. There's no through traffic by trucks. There are many, many dogs. Kind of gives it a eerie, creepy vibe, especially with how empty these streets are. But over here is Ahmeek Village Hall. I couldn't find any information online actually of when this building was built. It does look beautiful and it seems pretty old. And right next to it is Ahmeek's Fire Hall, which was built back in 1911. For a grand total of $2,925. That's quite impressive though, a town of 127 people that still has an operating fire hall. We're walking up towards the main street right now. Someone actually just got in their car, so this town is quite lively compared to some of the places we're gonna be seeing later today. Here is the post office. It was originally built back in 1909 when Ahmeek was initially incorporated as a village. I don't know how you have a county of unincorporated villages. That sounds like something out of Alaska. And granted, the isolation, the scenery, the weather, it kind of looks like what I'd imagine Alaska to look like. But here on this main street, there used to be many thriving, beautiful storefronts, businesses. They fallen into neglect, but Ahmeek wasn't always this empty. In fact, 100 years ago, Ahmeek's population was nearly 900, and the Keweenaw Peninsula's total population at the time was over 100,000. As I mentioned earlier, today, the population is 2,046. What happened? Well, rather than just tell you, let's head back to the car and drive to the ruins of America's first copper mine. But first, if you're wondering how much one of these homes or buildings in Ahmeek would cost you, this one right here, it's currently for auction. $3,400. Now the one next to it actually seems pretty well maintained. Must be really fascinating to live in a place like this, what many would consider a living ghost town. Holy, and look at that home. Yeah, this is kind of eerie. Like every house on this street was built in the same way, but with different colors. Now look at this one right here. I don't think anyone's lived in this building for 60, 70 years. I think the edge is just right over here. And yeah, as soon as we get past the last home on the block, it just becomes an empty grass field with cars parked and a trail, which I believe goes to an old mine. On the map, it looks like there was some type of mining shenanigans. Oh, is there running water right here? Is this a river? I thought this was just a puddle. Maybe it's a little creek. Yeah, it's a full creek. Wow. I'm back in the car and there's a school bus. Well, I guess some of the people in Amik are kids. And if you're wondering how I was actually able to charge my car up to 100% battery last night, it's because whoever owns this building right next to me, they bought it for around $200 a couple of years ago just to install a charger for electric vehicles. But before we get to America's first copper mine, as you see the church, I wanted to show you guys this old streetcar station here in Amik, originally built in 1909 when the Keweenaw Peninsula was much more populated and there was a streetcar that followed this entire US Route 41 up to Copper Harbor, which we will be checking out later as well. Today it is an ice cream shop, but like most things in the Keweenaw Peninsula this time of year, it is closed for the season. Very little is open up here between November and May. Now over here on the left is the old Amik mine. It's originally constructed back in 1902. The town of Amik was actually founded as a company town. It does not look to be in very good condition. Some fires have definitely raged there, and it has been out of commission since the 1960s. Now, some fun facts about the Keweenaw Peninsula as we drive through this rugged, wild landscape. It's the snowiest place in the US that's not dependent on elevation. Yes, there are a few snowier towns high up in the mountains. I recently made a different video about Houghton, the snowiest city in America. Check that out if you haven't already. But parts of the Keweenaw Peninsula, especially towards the northern tip, actually average over 300 inches of snow per year, which actually rivals the snowiest city on Earth, Aomori, Japan, which averages 312 inches per year. And while I'm planning to make a video there this upcoming winter, I know a lot of you are planning to travel this summer, and staying connected while overseas has never been cheaper or easier than with Saily. Today's sponsor. Saily is a global eSIM provider that offers prepaid data plans for travelers in over 200 destinations. I used them on my recent trips to Central Asia and South America, and rather than having to find a physical SIM in each place I went, which was 9 countries, all I had to do was download the Saily app and then choose my destinations and data plan to be instantly connected. Plus, if you're like me with one of the newer iPhones, there isn't even a physical SIM card slot. Saily eSIMs also include a built-in ad blocker, which helps reduce data usage, and you can get a 15% discount on Saily data plans when you use my code FROMHERE at checkout. So next time you plan on traveling abroad, download the Saily app or go to saily.com/FromHere, pick your data plans, and then apply my 15% off coupon code FROMHERE at checkout to be instantly connected almost anywhere in the world. But let's get back to those fascinating facts about the Keweenaw Peninsula. Now, Keweenaw County is also the only Michigan county with a smaller population today than it had back in 1900. And while it is absolutely stunning, for whatever reason, it's hardly visited. Only about 400,000 visitors come each year, mostly in the summer months, compared to the Upper Peninsula as a whole, which gets about 4.4 million visitors. And finally, it's the only place on Earth where large-scale amounts of 97% pure native copper ore can be found, which is why the US's first ever copper boom started right here on this very hill back in 1844. It is a misty morning in the Keweenaw Peninsula. I'm currently about 7 miles northeast of Amik. Wow, this wilderness is just stupendous. I'm gonna have to cross the creek to check out the old mining town. I think this is Sturdy. Yep. And we have officially entered the remnants of the Cliff Mine, the US's first ever successful copper mine, which also contains the oldest permanent structures, steam engines, etc. in the Keweenaw Peninsula. You can tell there's all sorts of different ores in these rocks. Apparently amateurs still come here with metal detectors and find copper, because there was just a whole boatload of copper up here. Now you can still climb to the top of that cliff from which you can see the shores of Lake Superior, but this entire mountaintop that was formed by some volcanic activity about 1 billion years ago, you can see a lot of this rock is volcanic. And because of that, you have high quality copper. That is copper right there. I literally found copper already. That green stuff. And right here, this rock is pretty much pure copper. Now the actual mining operation, I believe, is just in the woods up this way. This is a big rock pile though, holy. And I have found the first remnants of the Cliff Mine. There is an old smokestack and it is very tall. It's almost completely blended in by these trees. Holy. This is a man-made structure from over 170 years ago. And you can see that the rocks that were built are just like all of the rocks that you see all around on the floor. Now, between the years of 1845 to 1854, this Cliff Mine was the most productive copper mine in the nation. It led to many immigrants coming to this area, as well as many more mines opening in the Keweenaw. Yeah, this was all part of the settlement. That's so cool. These are all man-made structures. It's crazy how this one is still in such good condition. Now, large-scale mining at this particular mine ended in 1878. So for all intents and purposes, this has been a complete ghost town for 146 years. But while this was the first and perhaps the best preserved remains of Michigan's very early mining period from the 1840s, 1850s, in the grand scheme of things, Cliff Mine was actually quite small. It only produced around 38 million pounds of copper in its lifespan, whereas altogether over 11 billion pounds of copper were produced in this region, including between the years of 1850 and 1881, when the Keweenaw Peninsula produced over 3/4 of all copper on Earth. And navigating through the woods, here are some more remnants. Oh, look at that, where the creek dumps into. It's a little puddle. Obviously, most of these mining towns had company towns where the miners and their families would live in. Holy, this mine just goes all the way up here. These rock piles. And then that is Cliff Drive, where the first copper was found back in 1844. It seems like we have another person now up on the rock pile. I'm not sure if they're searching for copper. Yeah, they're bedding down. I think they are. So the Cliff Mine was right up there. I'm now going to cross the street, walk over these rocks. Oh, it is still very wet. Okay. Ooh, it is marshy. But apparently the ruins of 3 churches as well as the cemetery still remain of the ghost town Clifton, which once had a peak population over 700 residents back in 1877. I'm not sure what this is. Looks like some old pottery was broken here. Oh, I think this is the remains of something. Yeah, there definitely used to be a house or some type of building here. That's so crazy. To think that people just lived here in the middle of the woods. They built these towns in these remote regions, which were much harder to access back then, just for a chance at some of the copper. And how many of these ghost towns still exist in the woods that we just don't know about? I think this was probably some type of human-placed thing as well. Maybe up here, there's a whole field. I think this was another mining operation on the other side of the town of Clifton. I just accidentally stepped on this old iron rusty thing. I do not want to touch that. It just hit my leg. It hurt. I've been scouring this area. I haven't been able to find any more of the ruins unless that over there, that puddle, was the foundation of another man-made structure. I think this used to be one of the old churches, however. But while very little remains of the town of Clifton, which at its peak would have a population around twice the size of the current largest city in Keweenaw County, why don't we go visit the county's current largest town? Mohawk. And on the way to the town of Mohawk, if you were wondering just how much snow Keweenaw County gets, this here is a snow thermometer. The record high snowfall was in the winter of 1978 to 1979, when 390.4 inches of snow fell. That is over 30 feet. The average snowfall here in Keweenaw County is about 240 inches per year. And the all-time low was 161 inches in the 1999 to 2000 season. I grew up in Boston, which I think is one of the snowier big cities. Boston's worst year ever, snow began in 2015. There was only about 120 or 130 inches of snow. The all-time low in Keweenaw County is 161. I don't think you realize the size and scale of this thing. I am 6'5". If you're wondering just how empty most of the Keweenaw Peninsula is, just listen. The sounds of birds. A car way off in the distance. But on the way back to the town of Mohawk, I also just saw this sign, Seneca No. 3 Mine, which is one of, I'm sure, hundreds, if not thousands of different mines in this area, but it's now a bat conservation area. To give you guys a little idea of how many people used to live here and how many mines there used to be, with all of the extensive research I did, I never even heard about Seneca Mine number 3. There appears to be some old man-made ruins, and whatever this mine was has created a bat habitat. These are the different bat species in the Upper Peninsula. Wow, those are funky looking tricolored bat. As many as 50,000 bats hibernate inside the UP mines. This apparently is a bat cage. There's almost no other information available online about the Seneca mine. Oh, so I think this was the mine. Let's look in. It is just a dark, deep descent. I want to walk around to see the other structure as well. This was a big, big wall just on the side of the highway. And I bet you if you were to continue going off in the forest, maybe another 2-3 miles in any direction, you'd run into the remnants of other very old mines. But welcome to the town of Mohawk, currently the largest city or community in Keweenaw County. That there is the Secretary of State office where people can get their driver's license as well as vote. I believe it's the only place all 2,046 residents of Keweenaw County can do that. On the left here is also Slim's Cafe, which is reportedly delicious. Everything is made completely from scratch, and it's one of the only restaurants open year-round in Keweenaw County. But as you can already tell, this town is a lot bigger than Ahmeek, and it's also a lot bigger than any of the other communities we are going to be seeing today. Now, Mohawk is an unincorporated community with no legally defined boundaries or population statistics like a US Census, but the estimated population in 2020 was 388 residents. Over here on the left is the US Post Office, tiny building, originally founded back in 1901, and the town of Mohawk overall was founded in 1898 as a company town for the Mohawk Mining Company. We're gonna check out the old mine as well as the stamp mill, but I first want to stop at the Mohawk Superette right up here. Yeah, as it's the only grocery store, I believe, in this whole region that's open year-round. Fresh fish, smoked fish. Oh, they got vegetables and fruits and all sorts of things. Hunter Special, corn, apples. Yeah, you can buy bulk goods here, I guess. So yeah, it looks pretty well stacked. They have wine even. And it's not just groceries. They got all sorts of different supplies and materials that you would find in any normal hardware or department store. So what's your guys' names?
I'm Rena.
Rena and
Victor. Owner-operator.
So this is the only grocery store in this whole region, correct?
Yes. We are very busy.
Are you guys originally from Keweenaw County in general?
I am, yeah.
Okay, what part?
Bumbletown, 2 miles up the road.
And what's the population there?
43.
What was it like growing up in such a remote, sparsely populated place?
Freedom everywhere. Could roam and do anything you wish. Hunting, fishing, trapping.
Do you have any old family that used to work in the copper mines here?
Yes.
Around when did that end?
68 is when C&H shut down.
And that was the last one?
Yeah.
Did the towns kind of evacuate soon after that?
Actually, it hung in there for a while because logging was still good and there was other manufacturing jobs too. And a lot of people from here went down to downstate Michigan to work. But
We went down to the iron ore mines in Marquette County.
yeah, downstate automobile factories, iron mines in Marquette. Yeah, a lot of them did pack up from here and leave.
You obviously stayed in the Keweenaw. What's your favorite thing about living here?
The people, for me. Your neighbor helps your neighbor, even whether you know them or not.
Well, that's true. We do have good people here. Local support you. There's a lot of family tradition. And you might even see an outhouse in someone's backyard still.
There's an outhouse, they're cleaner.
And where are you from originally, Rena?
Marquette County area.
So you're from the UP, you're a Uper too.
yeah.
And what made you want to move up to Keweenaw?
Believe it or not, it's just probably the most amazing place in the UP I have ever been in my life. Nothing is like the Keweenaw.
So it's obviously very remote here.
Very
Are you able to get all of your basic necessities quite easily?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Amazon.
Oh,
That's what trucks are for.
so Amazon has Prime here.
It takes me about a week to get something from Amazon.
Okay. So do you mostly know everyone in this county?
It's close.
Okay.
Large percentage, yes. A lot of them come and go too. Like you got a new face in town and it might take a half or a year for you to catch up to them and say, hey, where are you from? Do I know you? Sometimes they say, yeah, and we're just leaving.
I guess what's the biggest difference between life here and the rest of the UP and just the country?
Definitely slower pace, I would assume. You got to survive the 4 seasons.
Hey, how's the snow? That's
That's coming.
We have a little bit of snow.
But we got snow. It's coming.
a little bit of snow.
Our snow is great. It can snow for 24 hours, heavy, and it's clear the next day. Our county is great.
At snowplowing, really?
Even compared to Marquette County. I used to think Marquette County was great, but Keweenaw is on it. Side roads and everything, boom, always clean.
So you were here, obviously, in the winter of 78, 79.
I was.
What was that like up here?
Slayed in it, skied in it, shoveled it, dug tunnels in it. Really no different as we get a lot anyway. Did you see the snow gauge up the road?
Yeah.
They call that the thermometer.
Yeah.
It's a snow gauge.
Yeah.
That's what it would have been if it packed lightly.
We're shoveling and snow blowing and plowing so you don't see it. Congratulations!
There he is, the shootist.
You just shot the deer. Okay.
Be national holidays. First day is deer season. My husband got a fork horn. Sean.
Mingo, nice to meet you. Is hunting your favorite thing about living out here?
That's part of it.
So were you born and raised in Keweenaw?
Yeah, Mohawk here.
Oh, just right here in Mohawk.
Well, I've been all over the United States. I've been in the Carpenters Union for almost 30 years. So,
Nice buck.
but I moved back home.
This is just earlier today.
Just now. He just got it. He's got a
8:30 I
four-pointer. Nice.
And I guess as someone who's lived in other places, what made you come back here?
Oh, just the people, and it's beautiful. Keweenaw County, I love it. You know, everybody comes back home.
Knowing what it's like in other parts of the country, do you think this is the most isolated place outside of Alaska, at least?
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
It's pretty laid back in the wintertime.
So if the Mohawk Superette didn't exist, would it be difficult here?
No.
No, we could go to Calumet, but who wants to travel 5 miles?
You know any children in town? What it's like? The schooling, do you have to bus 20 miles, 30 miles?
We knew quite a few kids.
Is the school in Calumet
Buses
that
are-
everyone goes to?
Oh, there's 3 or 4 different schools that the kids go to around.
Okay. There's one in Mohawk.
No. Calumet, then there's Copper Island Academy, and then there's Lake Linden.
And around how many kids are in this area, if you know?
In Lake Mohawk?
The county, I guess.
Oh, in the county. I don't know. Every family, I'd have to say, has 1 or 2.
So like at least a couple hundred kids, you'd
Yeah, a
say.
couple hundred. And the kids actually open the doors for you. They say please and thank you. Ride
right,
bikes up
yeah.
and down the streets. You don't see that anymore. When I lived I moved to Pittsburgh for a little while. Culture shock.
Final question for both of y'all. What does being a Youper really mean to you?
Self-sufficient.
What is the word?
Independent.
Sisu? Is that the finished word? That means tough.
Seems like it.
You learn how to
You have
live
to
with
be,
your
right?
needs, not your wants. You don't have room for wants up here. If you want something, get another job and order it from Amazon.
Now, a pasty is a folded pastry shell filled with meat, potatoes, and vegetables. It was brought over by the Cornish miners some 160, 170 years ago. It's a great meal or a snack to have while you're down in the mines. And that is freaking delicious. Also in the Mohawk Superette, however, a person who didn't want to be on camera was telling me that drinking is a huge problem in the Upper Peninsula, and there was a lot of liquor for sale. Some people love the winters, but it is too long, cold, and dark for many. Oh, look at that building over there. In relation to Ahmeek, Mohawk is just about 1.5 miles east, and it has a much bigger town footprint. One thing I am constantly reminded of every time I talk to people in the UP are probably some of, if not the nicest people in the nation. Now we're gonna drive up the other road of Mohawk, as it's the biggest town, and it's also one of the only towns in Keweenaw County which has full demographics. I guess this is Alois Township Park. There's a swing set over there. Some other contraptions for kids to play on, although I don't see any kids. And that's because the median age here is 44.4 years. Most people that still live in Keweenaw County are retired. The population is 59% female, 41% male. Race demographics are 95% of Mohawk is white, 2% is Native American, and 3% is 2 or more races. This here is the Horizons High School. So obviously there are some kids, and right behind the high school is the old Mohawk Mine rock pile. That must be surreal. Attending class and out your window are the remains of a mine that's over 120 years old. Yeah, there's a fully sizable high school. Now, the poverty rate of Mohawk is 22.7%. It's nearly double the US average, and childhood poverty is 47%, even though the median home value is just $211,000. Now, $211,000 may not seem like much. The Michigan median is $248,000, and the US median is around $365,000. But considering that the median household income here is just $44,000, 211 grand is actually quite expensive. Now, there's currently one home for sale in Mohawk, It's this one right here, 111 Stanton Avenue. It is a 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,900 square foot home, going for $165,000. I want to drive up this road by the Horizons High School, however, and check out, that is so cool. There is a glove on this tree, and it's probably quite a steep walk up this rock pile. Yeah, you can see there's many minerals in these rocks. That's some iron down there. Oh, this is very steep. And I have reached the top of the rock pile. It does not seem like you can see much of the old mine that used to be here, but the Mohawk mine was in operation from 1898 until 1932. And Mohawkite, which is a rare mineral of a few different compounds like copper, iron, other things. I'll overlay an image on the screen of what it looks like. That only naturally appears in this area. Now at its peak, the mine produced over 20 million pounds of copper per year. It was a big operation. Over 1,000 people worked this mine back in 1909. It seems like now people come up here and make rock circles in the massive rock pile. Wow. Look at the view of the high school, Mohawk, and the rest of the Keweenaw Peninsula. Holy. I think that's the Quincy Mine. Okay, so go check out my video on Houghton if you haven't already. I visited Quincy Mine, which was one of the biggest mining operations in the Keweenaw Peninsula. It's now a ghost town. I am pretty sure that is the 200-foot tall stamp rock press some 20 miles away. But all of the copper that was mined here would be useless if the ore wasn't extracted. So how about we head about 12 miles southeast of here to where the rocks from this very mine were crushed and the ore separated. This is the Keweenaw County Road Commission. That is likely where all of those snowplows that Rena and Victor were talking about are maintained. But the town I am now driving to, Gay, is another unincorporated community with no official population statistics or legally defined boundaries. There isn't even a population estimate. Oh, that home. And this building, holy, it caved in on itself. And this home on the left, look at that. And the cars, I think someone still lives there. Oh, maybe not. That car's windshield has certainly been broken in. And now we enter the remote wilderness known as the Keweenaw Peninsula, and this is one of the least traveled roads. As you can see by the name, it's actually just Mohawk to Gay Road. There's not even an official highway or street name marker. And welcome to the unincorporated community, Gay, Michigan. Again, there are no actual population statistics. Nobody knows the current population of this very rural, remote town in likely the most remote region of the lower 48 states. Mohawk is 12 miles that away. Now, back at its peak, the town of Gay had about 1,500 residents in the early 1900s. It was originally founded back in 1901 to service the very important, much needed Mohawk Stamp Mill. That massive pillar that you see up there. Before we check out the stamp mill, there is an old historical museum of the schoolhouse that once was in this big community of Gay. Oh, I guess there's a fire truck here still. I thought this was gonna be like a population 13 type of town. It seems like they have some actual official buildings. Now, the town of Gay does not have cell service. I am on SOS right now. I believe this is the office. Yeah, this is where people would go to vote. Oh, I guess this is the head of Sherman Township. So even though nobody knows the population of the town of Gay, for this whole Sherman Township area, which probably has a few communities, township announcements, and then community hall. So I'd imagine this is where the gatherings happen for all of the local policies. And then fire department, looks like they have 2 separate little mini fire trucks. This is the old schoolhouse built in the very early 1900s. It was a 250 student schoolhouse, and the town of Gay used to be bustling because of this old stamp mill. That is a big, big smokestack. Oh. At its peak, there was the town office, which we see right over there. There was a warehouse, a pump house, blacksmiths, churches, docks, and of course, the big school. Oh, I guess it was erected in 1927. Apparently, between the months of May and October, you can actually go inside the schoolhouse. It's currently mid-November, so a lot of things are going to be closed for the season. Oh, the building next to the fire station has broken windows. And over here, there's an old stoplight, as well as French words. It says, "Vous n'avez que faire ici. I think it translates to you don't have to do it here. Oh, and I guess while that's the current Sherman Township Fire and Rescue Department building, next to it is the old Gay Fire Department building, and those weren't cracks in the windows, they're silhouettes. So you can pause and read all of this, but today the Gay Fire Department protects an area of approximately 80 square miles. Rob and Eric, you guys are from Gay, Michigan?
Not originally, but we live here now. I was born in Montana.
And I am from Ohio.
And what brought you guys to the Keweenaw?
I was going to school at Michigan Tech. My career started with the U.S. Forest Service in the UP.
I went to Michigan Tech as well. So.
Okay, and so you just stayed ever since then?
For me, I left and then came back.
And my career, I was in about 10 different states, came back here in the end.
So now you guys work for the fire department?
Correct, we're both volunteers.
How many people in total work for the fire department?
Actually, right now, 14, which is an amazing number. We only have 91 residents.
Oh, in the town of Gay, there's 91 people.
In the township, yeah, which is 65 square miles and 91 people.
Oh, so not just Gay, like the whole area is 91 people.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I guess being in such a remote part of the country, are there any challenges to that?
Well, there is. One, infrastructure. There's only a few roads out of here. There's no mass transit. You need a car. It's a little difficult in the winter, up to 200 inches of snow. And just resources, right? We don't have any big box stores.
And do most people just do Amazon for most of their...
I would guess if they really want something, because there isn't that much available locally.
Amazon and Walmart.
And then how often do you guys go to like Houghton or Marquette?
For groceries, yeah, pretty much at least once a week.
Once a week at least. Once a week to Houghton.
And then others go to Green Bay or Marquette for real shopping.
That's like, what, 5 hours?
Or Twin Cities, 7 hours, 8 hours away.
Yeah, Green Bay's 5 and Marquette's 2.5.
If someone's going to Green Bay, do they say, hey, I'm going to Green Bay, does anyone need anything? I'll pick it up for you?
Yeah, or car share.
As people that have lived other places, what's the biggest difference between life in the Keweenaw and the rest of the country?
You have to like peace and quiet, except for when this is going.
And no traffic.
No traffic. You really have to be independent because you're going to have to do a lot of things on your own. People love hunting and fishing. I mean, that's a big thing. You're talking to an angler right here who goes out fishing almost all summer.
And what are the biggest fish out here? Trout?
Lake trout and salmon.
And the whitefish.
There's salmon out here, really?
Yeah, Lake Superior has salmon.
In Lake Superior.
Is that mostly what people do for fun? Hunting, fishing, outdoor stuff?
Yeah, outdoor recreation, ATV riding, snowmobiling, hiking, skiing,
Mountain
both
biking.
camping.
And what's the main economy?
All of that.
Tourists.
All tourism, really?
Tourism really drives it. Snowmobiling's huge, and then in the summer, camping and people just visiting. If it's a good snow season, snowmobiles can actually outpace the summer season.
Really?
As far as
Okay.
income.
Last year there wasn't much snow, right?
No, it's
only-
pretty depressing for the economy.
What, if anything, is your least favorite thing about living up here?
The long winters. We're going to have gray skies now until May.
Really?
Yeah.
Very little
When the
sun.
sun comes out, you just do a sun dance. We're going to have gray skies and it's going to snow. Don't know why it's not snowing now. And then the leaves will not come out until June, so it's a really late spring.
So it's a very short spring, summer, fall.
It is. It's really intense.
Winter is long and the transition to and from it is long.
Very long.
The old joke used to be there was 3 months of summer and 9 months of bad sledding. Or
You have 3 months
sledding.
of bad sledding.
three months of bad sledding and then 6 months of good sledding.
Obviously, there's a lot of history in the Keweenaw. Do you know anyone whose families used to work in the copper mines?
Actually, there's several families in this community that have relatives that go back to the mines. So this was a mining town. Gay is named after, you probably saw the sign, Joseph E. Gay. Of course, the Gay Bar plays on that name. But this was a stamp mill. And that's what that smokestack was from.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of people had their roots back to this, went to this school and had families that worked in the mines or the stamp mill.
And is this gay bar, is that the only establishment in town that people can...
It's the only commercial establishment.
Really?
Yeah. The nearest grocery store is 12 miles away. Either Lake Linden or Mohawk, which is a small.
And is it always pretty well plowed?
It is. We have to give all the credit to the road commission. They come through every day and make sure it's scraped down. You can get out or in. So there's a lot of people who live here that probably never crossed the bridge for 10 years. And it's not the bridge between the Upper Peninsula and the Lower Peninsula. It's the bridge in Houghton Hancock. They've never gotten off Copper Island.
And the 2,000 people live in this copper island.
They do.
Yeah, so only 2,000 people, like 2 grocery stores.
Luckily, the hospitals are on this side.
Oh, in Haycock, it's on this side. Yeah, okay.
So they really everything they need technically is on this side of the bridge.
Wow. But let's go check out this stamp mill and tell you why it was built so far from the Mohawk mine. There's a sign that says the Gay Sands. So I guess all of the sand that's going to be on the beach right behind this massive stamp mill drifted over or was deposited from the huge operation that went on here. So it went all the way out into the lake. 22.7 million metric tons of stamp sand were deposited between the Mohawk Mill smokestack and the shore of Lake Superior. And y'all, this thing is freaking massive. But if you're wondering why this 236-foot tall smokestack was built here rather than actually near the Mohawk mine, it's because stamp mills require enormous amounts of water to move rock through the mill to facilitate the separation of the ore from the rest of the rock. All of this ground that I'm walking on right now was a huge operation. It was 178 feet by 206 feet, went into the ocean. You still see some of the remnants. Not ocean, it's the lake. It feels like the ocean. This stamp mill was an absolute beast back in the day. It crushed over 500 tons of copper ore per day. All of these platforms were much more elevated. There were structures on all of them, and they extended all the way out into Lake Superior. Just think of how long it must have taken to build all of this stuff out of stone with technology. Yeah, this was all built 120 years ago. So I'd imagine all of the sand you see here is the residue. You know, it's not really sand, it's like little itty bitty rocks. Residue of the stamp mill processing and extracting the ore and then throwing all of this waste sand into Lake Superior. All of this, I think, used to be the lake. All of this area would have previously been the water. This much sand was deposited from this stamp mill's operations. What an absolute beast. Like, I'm high up off the water. This used to be a whole deck that went way out into the water, as you saw earlier by that other photo. And across Lake Superior, the sun is poking in. You can see the rest of the Upper Peninsula across Lake Superior over there. That would be around here on the map. So this northern part, I guess this is a man-made beach in ways, not intentionally man-made, but you just see the drop off. I don't even think I realized the size and scale of mining up here. And this is just one little operation. There were hundreds. Holy, this is just surreal. Look at this metal coil that they used to use to string together all this rock. But before we see perhaps the coolest ghost town in the Keweenaw Peninsula, how about we check out perhaps the most beautiful town in Michigan, which many refer to as the edge of the world. And if you want to know what this road becomes after exiting the town of Gay, from here to Mohawk, it is the Mohawk to Gay Road. From here to Lac La Belle, along the southern shore of the Keweenaw Peninsula, it's the Gay to Lac La Belle Road. Gay is obviously in a very remote part of the Keweenaw Peninsula. The road I am about to drive down, the Gay to Lac La Belle Road, as the next town is Lac La Belle, population unknown as well. It is one of the most beautiful, remote, and least trafficked roads in the lower 48 states. I have not seen a single car. I've been driving on this road for about 8 miles now. Just raw, rugged, untamed wilderness. I don't think another place outside of maybe very rural Maine and Alaska is quite like this. I just saw a deer, as this is hunting season, and you gotta be careful up here in the Keweenaw where there are more deer than people. And just on the side of perhaps the loneliest road I have ever driven on is the Bet Grease Preserve, Point Isabel. Yeah, I am currently right here, and this whole coast is now protected. We are gonna go to Lac La Belle in just a little bit, but look at this beautiful natural beach. There is definitely some iron in the sand. Wow. This is absolutely stunning. Here we have one of the many rivers that dump into one of the thousands of lakes in the Upper Peninsula. That is Lac La Belle. There is a different lake right there, as well as many more in this peninsula, as this was all full of ice during the last ice age. And right up here on the left, about 0.8 miles, we should be able to see our first waterfall of the day. Welcome to the community of Lac La Belle. Oh, I missed the waterfall. Holy. I thought there was gonna be a waterfall just on the side of the road up ahead. I guess the waterfall is right here. And I think we have some other tourists. Well, I almost missed it just on the side of the road. That is the Lac La Belle Lake. We'll go around and see it from a better angle in just a second. But this here is Haven Creek, and that is Haven Falls. It's around 15 feet tall. It literally is just on the side of the road. Now, the Upper Peninsula in general is home to over 300 waterfalls. And I'd imagine in the springtime, once all that snow melt, this is a lot more powerful. So the first tourists I bumped into, you guys are from downstate Michigan, right?
Yes.
And what are you doing in the Keweenaw this time of year?
It's our anniversary trip, and we just like to get away and get into God's creation and enjoy seeing stuff.
What do you love about the Upper Peninsula in general?
Love the waterfalls, and we love lighthouses, and the Keweenaw is gorgeous with waterfalls, and then we're about to go to explore a couple of lighthouses that we've never seen before.
Would you guys consider moving up here one day?
Work it would be a little harder, but yeah, I mean, it'd be a great place to live.
It would.
So it's not too remote for you?
Oh, no.
Okay.
We love the setting.
Have you guys ever been here in the heart of winter?
Not this specific area. Some of the waterfalls that free fall, they'll freeze into ice cones, so we've been here to see some of that.
There's Munising, and then a little town called Christmas, and then it's called Scotts Falls. We were going on an anniversary trip, and it had a cave behind it, and we thought, oh man, this would be such an amazing place. We'll go behind there and we'll kiss. And it wasn't even falling, like not even a trickle over the edge. We brought our kids back the following March when they saw it. Columns of frozen blue and pink and green. It was gorgeously amazing.
So you guys are very well versed in the Upper Peninsula. All your anniversary trips you come up here.
Many.
Yeah, this is probably our 4th or 5th. We've been married 30 years.
Wow, this is the 30th year this year.
This is our 30th.
Congratulations.
Yes,
That's
thank you.
I guess as people who are pretty familiar with life up here, what's the biggest difference or adjustment versus downstate?
We have friends, and actually totally random on our trip here last year, we met them. They said sometimes it's the remoteness of nothing is easily reachable very fast. No large cities if you're all about your shopping. That's not how we roll, as far as that's not nightlife and big cities. So
We like the nature, we like the quiet.
Also, have you heard anything about Uper lights?
No.
We had a friend who showed those to us. In the light of day, they will look like gray, absolute nothing stones. But they were apparently discovered in 2017. And if you have this UV black light, it sparkles, fiery orange. We're gonna go Uper light hunting for the first time
Okay, so
tonight.
for like different rocks.
Yes, but they shine. We bought one of the lights.
Okay, with the lights, yeah,
We
wow.
bought one of the flashlights so we can go Uper light hunting.
Yeah, I think it's the most like unique combination of minerals anywhere in the
Yes.
world is here. So
Yes.
good luck with that. Hopefully you
Thank
find
you.
some euchre lakes.
Great,
Yeah.
great to meet you.
And happy anniversary.
Thanks so much.
And as you can tell, all of these communities are SOS. Now, I believe this mountain straight ahead is Mount Bohemia, one of the largest mountains in the Keweenaw Peninsula, as well as the longest vertical drop and longest ski run in the Midwest. It's actually a ski resort in the wintertime. There's probably a lot of fresh powder up here too, with how much snow the Keweenaw gets. Now, I'm not sure if those are the remnants of an old stamp mill, but the town was originally founded due to a stamping plant harnessing the power of Lac La Belle. Mount Bohemia and Copper Harbor are up this way. I'm now 15 miles to Copper Harbor, and it's about to get very steep. We are now at a higher elevation in the center of the Keweenaw Peninsula. Delaware over there on the map is actually an old mine that you're allowed to enter. Unfortunately, it is only open, like most things in the Keweenaw, between May and mid-October. I think it actually doesn't even open until June. I've bumped into some cars in the road. That's a mail delivery truck, isn't it? I wonder what they're doing out here. UPS, yeah! They have to deliver out in this very remote part of the country. Now, if I were to continue a couple miles down that way, I would end up at the Delaware Mine. We unfortunately only have around 4.5 more hours of daylight, and there's quite a few other towns, as well as one of the best preserved ghost towns that I still want to explore. So we're gonna skip Delaware for now. And yet another beautiful lake here on this drive to the absolute northern corner. I'm about 3 miles away from Copper Harbor now. I have no idea what this fenced area is, but those rocks look very, very old. Oh, it's the Mountain Lodge. Don't stop believing. And as we reach the edge of US Highway 41, welcome to Copper Harbor, a place many refer to as the edge of the world. I am currently 30 miles northeast of the town of Amiq, where we started today's video. This is the northernmost town in the state of Michigan. It's the furthest town away from an interstate highway in the contiguous United States. It's over 5 hours. We are going to be coming back and exploring this historic town a little more thoroughly, but first I wanted to drive another mile east of here to an even more historic, but mostly still intact ghost town, Fort Wilkins. Still so surreal to me that for practically my entire journey today, I have been the only person out and about. That right here is Fort Wilkins State Historic Park, in between Fanny Hoe Creek up that way and Lake Superior right down there. We're going to be checking out a few of the lighthouses. But this fort was established in 1844 by the U.S. Army to keep the peace between the many miners and Ojibwe, as well as other tribes in the region. Obviously, the copper rush of the early 1840s saw many fortune seekers moving to the Keweenaw and... Oh, I think I hear somebody. I think there's kids out and about. But yes, obviously the government was worried lawlessness was going to ensue with a mining rush, as that did happen in a lot of the gold rush towns out west. But surprisingly, there wasn't much crime, and by 1846, the fort was deemed unnecessary and deserted. It was briefly used again as a training post post-Civil War between 1867 and 1870. But other than that, it's almost completely as it was when it was built in 1844. 12 of the original 27 structures still remain. Typically, you can go inside some of the houses, but it's closed for the season. It's so crazy how these structures that were built in 1844 are still standing today. Oh wow, there's a big group of people. Maybe there's a field trip or something. So I'm not sure what each building's purpose was. I imagine up here were the barracks where people slept. But just remember, back in 1844, how remote. I mean, it's already so remote and unsettled today, but imagine back then, just straight wilderness. These seem to be in too good condition. I wonder if they were restored by the National Park Service. I feel like there's no way all of these buildings would still be in this good of condition, especially the ones made out of wood. Okay, so I just read this. It just goes into the history of why the fort was established. It doesn't tell anything about the... Oh, over here. To preserve the site, Houghton and Keweenaw counties purchased the military reservation in 1921, and in 1923, it became a state park. So I guess these buildings have just been well preserved. There's a bunch of trails in this whole area. And then this is the souvenir store. It is closed for the season, just like most things. I'm now across the street from the fort, where we should have a beautiful view of a lighthouse across Lake Superior. Oh, there's someone on a boat. But that lighthouse to that person's right is the Copper Harbor Light Station. The original structure was built in 1848, but the current iteration of the lighthouse was built in 1866. It is currently not operational. The current lighthouse is that little steel beam, I don't know if you can see it, directly to the left of it, built in 1933. And unfortunately, we are not going to be able to drive to the lighthouse as it is on private property and a private road. Here we have a smooth stone beach. And yeah, you can literally see where the creek dumps into the shores of Lake Superior. Now this area is called Astor Shipwreck Park. This is a little rendition of what Copper Harbor probably looked like. By the mid-1840s, Copper Harbor became a rough and tumble mining camp. Weather conditions cut them off from the outside world 6 months out of the year. They weren't kidding when they said only the most determined miners made it happen here. I didn't even realize how treacherous it must have been to sail Lake Superior in the wintertime. Near this site in September 1844, the John Jacob Astor was driven upon the rocks. Efforts to free her failed, and in February she broke apart. So this boat just stayed stuck out here in this bay for September to February. That's what, 5 months? So crazy. This is a main U.S. highway. We're going to go to the very start of U.S. Highway 41 in just a sec, but if we were to continue down this road some 2,000 miles, we would end up in Miami, Florida. And a sign that says dead end, because we are now just 0.1 miles away from the very start of this highway. Originally built in 1926, here is the memoriam. Oh, I'm gonna drive to the very, very end. It says this dirt road is a seasonal road that is not plowed by the Keweenaw County Road Commission. If I were to continue up it 1.9 miles, I'd end up at Horseshoe Harbor, eventually High Rock Bay, which is apparently gorgeous. There's tons of other waterfalls, lighthouses, and even the Keweenaw Rocket Range. There was actually a rocket launched into space back in 1971. If I were to head in the opposite direction, some 2,000 miles, I would end up in Miami, Florida. I am not going to be going down to Florida on this trip or to the other wilderness that awaits beyond that dirt road. I am, however, going to take you all around Copper Harbor. Welcome back to Copper Harbor, where there is still no cell service. Luckily, I downloaded a few offline maps to help me navigate around. Although the town itself is not very big, the population of Copper Harbor, 100 year-round residents. Apparently there's around 300 residents in the summer months. Oh wow, they are building a new house. I'm sure that's probably going to be quite the nice home. There's a very old-fashioned motel, King Copper Motel. And that looks like a beautiful place to park, actually. I love the way the street sides are painted here in Copper Harbor. It's just a post with Brockway and Fifth. So this street I'm on now is Brockway. I don't believe, oh, this is Lake Superior, isn't it? Yeah, it's a little inlet that eventually connects into Copper Harbor Bay, one of the best natural bays on the Keweenaw Peninsula. Now, historically, Copper Harbor was a place used to ship the metals out of the Keweenaw Peninsula and for supplies to come in for the local mines. One of those inlets, I think they're both islands, but one of those islands, Porter's Island, is where the very first structure in this area was, built back in 1843. I'd imagine you wouldn't be able to take boats in through this way on the harbor. You'd probably have to go in around the island there. Today, there are very few developments in Copper Harbor. There is a couple of motels like that one there. I'm not sure if these are vacation homes or if people live in them year-round. I would believe those are vacation rentals of some kind. Again, there is no cell service in town. I'm on SOS. I don't think I've seen a single hotel, and I haven't seen a single person other than those people constructing that house. It is a very sleepy town at the edge of the world. I kind of love how it's all just small mom and pops. Good old-fashioned small-town America. Now, the peak population of Copper Harbor was actually a lot smaller than some of the other mining communities, as there were no actual mines. It was more just a supply point. But 359 people lived here back in 1870. Today, the population is exactly 100. Copper Harbor is not incorporated, so they don't have official population statistics, but in 2020, the first ever US Census conducted here, and the median age is 61.7 years. 26% of the population is under the age of 18. 44% are over 65, so only 30% of the population is the working age. And over there we have some turkeys crossing the road. I think they're turkeys at least. There is so much wildlife here in the UP. This here is Tamarack Inn and Thunderbird Shop Gift Center. This is the old country store. Oh, there's a sign here. It says gas and diesel. Oh, there's a gas station right up there. Wow. Now, in terms of race demographics in Copper Harbor, it is 100% white, non-Hispanic. 38% of the population is male, while 62% are female. I would assume that's because a lot of people here are retirees and women tend to live longer than men. Yeah, it's so interesting. Even like picnic tables, which I'm sure have plenty of people in the summertime, they are closed for the season. Here we have Swedes Keweenaw Minerals, as well as another person. Our first person we've seen actually walking out and about. Oh, and I think that's a big piece of copper right here. Wow. Keweenaw Agate Shop. I wonder if this is real copper. I'm gonna feel it. Yeah, that's real copper. That's heavy. That is like real solid metal. Hey, how you doing?
How are you?
Were you born in Copper Harbor? When did you come here?
4 years ago.
And where are you from originally?
I'm Minneapolis.
And what brought you over here?
I've come here my whole life.
So just like you came here on vacation and decided to move here finally?
Yeah.
And what about Copper Harbor is so special in your eyes?
The people and the nature of it all, you know.
And Copper Harbor is also the town farthest away from an interstate highway. Do you feel that it's very remote here?
Oh yeah.
Do you like that?
Oh yeah. I mean, there's traffic, as you can see, but other than that, you know, it's just you and the bears.
There's bears up here.
Oh yes.
Have you seen bears in the Upper Peninsula?
I did see a bear just a few days ago.
Obviously, there's a lot of snow and it gets very cold and dark here.
Yeah.
Do you enjoy that?
I love it. I mean, snowshoeing, sledding. There's so much snow. It becomes a different world.
And what's the biggest difference between life here and, say, Minneapolis or anywhere else in the country?
You know, there's less going on, so you got to make something happen. Everything is basically built around people working with the town. Right here over at the Mariner North, that's the big one in town.
Okay, so is that like a bar?
It's a restaurant.
Restaurant. I've also noticed there's no cell service.
Pretty much, yeah.
How do you prefer that? Do you like that?
Well, you can get Wi-Fi service at a lot of places in town.
Okay.
So you can use your Wi-Fi calling.
But most people, while they're out and about, they won't have their phone, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. If you're trips around the trails and everything. Once you get up towards the mountain, you'll get your signal back again at the top of Brockway Mountain.
That's Brockway Mountain right up there?
Yeah, that's the nose.
It's a good view from up there.
Oh, for sure. Whole
Okay.
entire lake. Check that out.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, man. What's your name?
Mango.
Mango.
Like a fruit, yeah.
Thanks. You too.
Yeah, have a good one. Well, that was a great insight into life here in Copper Harbor. And up here we have the Copper Harbor School, which is actually the oldest continuously running single room schoolhouse in the state of Michigan. It was originally built back in 1850 and it currently hosts grades K through 8. High school students in Copper Harbor, if there are any, are bused 35 miles to Calumet, which we are going to be going to later today as well. It is also, for all intents and purposes, a living ghost town. But as this is a very old schoolhouse that predates the roads and highways in the Keweenaw Peninsula, a local schoolhouse was necessary for the miners and mariners' families. I wonder if school is in session right now. Oh yeah, it looks like there is a teacher reading to some children. Wow. School is literally in session, kids only on this playground. Obviously, Copper Harbor is still very remote, but it is also slowly modernizing. As you can see over there, there is a electric vehicle charger. Keweenaw Minerals quality knives imported from Norway, Sweden, and Finland. Yes, there's a lot of Scandinavian influence. But if you're wondering what the weather is like in Copper Harbor, it actually is very regulated as it's pretty much surrounded by Lake Superior. The high today, November the 15th, was 47 degrees. The low today is 44 degrees. Average summertime temperatures are in the mid 60s to low 70s, whereas the winter temperatures are typically in the low to mid 20s during the day, and then the high single digits at night. Copper Harbor Visitor Center. I would assume it is closed, as I doubt many visitors are up in Copper Harbor this time of year. Chapel of Our Lady of the Pines. So I guess there's a church just up this road. Oh yeah, there's the fire department building. Is the visitor center open now?
No, I'm sorry, it's not.
Oh, okay, no worries.
There's some brochures and such in the hallway, maps and whatever, but the center itself, there's no one attending.
Okay, have a good one.
You too, all right.
So this is the visitor center as well as the post office. Now, on average, Copper Harbor gets about 33 inches of rainfall and 270 inches of snow. It's actually quite an anomaly that in the middle of November, there have only been 2 inches of snow. But yeah, there are a whole lot of trails up here. If you love the outdoors, this is a great place to explore. Now, the unemployment rate in the summer months in Copper Harbor is about 5.9%, but it usually rises to 8 or 9% in the winter months due to obviously a lot of the jobs being in tourism. It's very safe here, just like the rest of the Keweenaw, however. Crime rate is 63% below the national average. And up here is the only other grocery store apart from Mohawk Superette in Keweenaw County. This is the Gaslight General Store, or the Jenny, and it's open from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Although there's a food truck here. Yeah, I'd imagine in the summertime this place is bustling. There's a brewery. Oh, so there's like a food truck, the Roaming Pallet, right next to a brewery, and then they probably have tables set up all around here. Oh, and that's the UPS truck that we saw earlier. Wow. If my tour of Copper Harbor has made it sound like a place you'd want to move or perhaps buy a summer home, the median home value is $285,000. The only home for sale currently, however, is a 3-bed, 2-bath log cabin going for $575,000. But this here is the Harbor House, which is apparently a beautiful restaurant, bar, as well as luxury suites. Or I guess it's only one luxury suite. That your elevated tower up there, it is unfortunately closed for the season. Oh, and over here we have a 1,720 pound piece of copper. They put a shade on, like anyone would be able to pick this up. The copper door is hot. We warn you, touch it not. My dear friend, please understand, we have to see you burn your hand. Okay, I was like, it is not hot at all. But wow, an old copper door. I wonder how old this establishment really is. And this here is the view. Yeah, so the lighthouse would guide mariners in here, and this is one of the best natural harbors in the Keweenaw. Now, I believe one of these docks up here is where the boats to Isle Royale National Park take off from. Oh, is that a boat? That's a barge out there in the water, isn't it? It's not an island. It's moving, yeah. But Isle Royale National Park is around a 4-hour ferry from Copper Harbor. It's 6 hours from Houghton. and it is the least visited national park in the lower 48 states. Only about 30,000 total visitors per year. If you think this is untouched, Isle Royale is a whole other level. This house you're building, you know how much it costed?
I have no idea.
300 grand.
So apparently this new construction home right here is going for about 300 grand. It's probably going to have not the most ideal view, but as we are now back on Brockway Street with a beautiful view of Brockway Mountain, let's go up it. And upon leaving Copper Harbor, or trying to leave at least, these turkeys, they just like come in on the road. Oh, and over here on the main street, it says Miami, Florida is 1,990 miles away. We are gonna continue along the coast to Eagle Harbor. Another fascinating, oh, there's the guy we interviewed earlier. Oh, and look at this. Signs from all over. Holy, this is a steep road. I would imagine it gets quite dangerous in the wintertime with all the snow and black ice. Now this road, Brockway Mountain Drive, was originally built back in 1933, and it's an 8.8 mile long scenic road with panoramic views of Lake Superior all around. And we're starting to get them. We gotta go a little higher, I believe. Oh, and look at the, okay, and there's a pullout right up here I'm gonna drive into because this view of Copper Harbor from above. Welcome to Brockway Mountain Lookout, a place unlike any other I have seen in the Midwest. It's hard to remember that we are in Michigan right now. Those are mountains. That's Lake Fanny Ho that was right by Fort Wilkins Historic State Park. Can we see the Fort Wilkins? I don't think we can actually see it. It must be up there somewhere. That's that lighthouse we viewed earlier. Wow. This is an 1862 photo. 1890, and then this is the Mountain Lodge, which I believe is right up here somewhere, and it's been in place for a long time, 1936. Keweenaw people live close to the land by choice and by necessity. The isolation, the climate, and the rhythm of the seasons make us hardy and self-reliant. And now that we had that view at the edge of the earth, how about we go down into the earth to perhaps the best preserved ghost town in Michigan. So up this road on the right is the old site of the Delaware mine. We are not going to be checking that out, although the Delaware mine is in great condition as well. Instead, welcome to Central Michigan. Located about halfway between Copper Harbor and Calumet, which historically was the largest city in the Keweenaw Peninsula. Today, it is a complete ghost town and perhaps the best preserved ghost town in the entire state of Michigan. All of these old buildings were once part of the Central Mine. The mine originally opened back in 1854 and it produced nearly 52 million pounds of copper before closing in 1898. In 1880, around 1,300 people lived in this town. There were over 100 different buildings. Today, 11 of the old houses still remain, and a few other structures as well. We're gonna drive up a little bit. Now, this would have been the main intersection in town between Central Road and Stagecoach Road. The church, which is still standing, should be, oh wait, there's another building up there. This town is way too big to be able to walk around the whole thing on foot, but this is another old home right up here. Wow. This is what a latter half of the 1800s house would have looked like in one of these mining towns. Look at that house right there too. Old period homes. These are not recreations. These are the originals. So I'm guessing there's a road that goes up here. I wonder just how old these steel rods and rocks are, or what they were a part of. I don't know actually where all the buildings are placed in Central. I'd assume there's some up that road. I wanted to closely inspect, I think that's an outhouse right there. And then these are two of the old homes, probably built sometime in the second half of the 19th century. I have never seen a ghost town that's like actually lush. They're almost always in the desert or high up in the mountains. But Michigan has quite a few ghost towns. If you guys want to see a video where I just explore ghost towns in the Upper Peninsula, there's actually over 200 ghost towns in the entire state. Let's hit 10,000 likes and I will do a video solely dedicated to Michigan ghost towns. So I think all of these buildings during the summer month, you're actually allowed to enter. This is like a full museum historical park. The main road, US 41, is just down there. That was built long after this town was abandoned. I'd imagine all of this used to be buildings. There are over 100 buildings. And yeah, we're gonna go drive up to the collection of buildings up that way. But while we do that, if you're wondering why there is so much high quality copper here in the Keweenaw Peninsula, it's due to the unique circumstances in which the Keweenaw formed. 1.1 billion years ago, volcanic activity following the mid-continent rift, which was a massive fracture in the Earth's crust that stretched from Kansas all the way to Lake Superior, followed by a sequence of over 200 lava flows, formed a volcanic pile of minerals and bedrock over 11,000 feet thick, which is today's Keweenaw Peninsula. It was likely the largest lava flow in the history of Earth, and also resulted in the basin that created Lake Superior, which is the largest freshwater lake on Earth. Now, to produce native copper, a very precise combination of depth, temperature, and fluids needed to be achieved during a rock's metamorphism, and a rift line that follows the center of the Keweenaw Peninsula is actually the only place on Earth with this perfect combination. But up here we have the old Methodist church built back in 1868. So let's park and tell you a little bit about that. And I didn't even realize there's another house just pocketed through the trees. One of my favorite things about the Upper Peninsula, oh, look at that. That place looks like it burned down to the studs. What I was trying to say though is I think my favorite thing about the Upper Peninsula is how wooded it is, how there could be an old ghost town just like the one we saw earlier today or just like the one in front of us, but you would have no idea until you're maybe 10, 20 feet away from it because it just looks like the wilderness. From the road down there or from the top of this mountain, for instance, you would not be able to see these remains. I'm not sure when it burned down. Foundation looks pretty solidly intact. Wow, this might be one of the old street signs. And a lot of these rocks used in the construction probably came from that 1.1 billion year old lava flow. Some of the oldest rocks on planet Earth are here, as well as the Canadian Shield. It looks like this house was also hurt by the fire. Definitely appear to be burn marks. I want to go check out that red house on that hill that I completely missed earlier, as well as this church, which is an old Cornish church, as I'm sure a lot of the people that lived in Central back in the day were Cornish miners. Oh, wow. I wonder what that is up there. Is that Mount Bohemia? I think that might be the ski slope. Let's go up this path to this red house. Beautiful church. This was probably another home of some kind. I don't see any placards or signs to read. Yeah, and then it just becomes vast wilderness, a hill. Oh, and over here, so I guess the Park Service recreated what one of these homes would have looked like. There's a nice little tea kettle. It's closed, but we can still take a little gander inside. Oh, there's stairs. And yeah, this would have been the entrance, I guess. This is so cool. And again, I am the only person here. How is this Michigan, first of all? Second of all, why is nobody here? Central Mine was organized on November 15th, 1854 and finally closed July 20th, 1898. And then it says after the mine closed, they had reunions at this church starting in 1907. Yeah, you can pause and read the whole sign if you want. But speaking of the old volcanic rocks that I mentioned earlier, our next town has perhaps the best place to view the remnants of that 1.1 billion year old lava flow. Welcome to Eagle Harbor. Named after the beautiful harbor that you see right up there, as well as the many eagles that were in the area back in 1844 when European settlers first founded the town. Now, the big harbor to my right is one of only 3 harbors in the entire Keweenaw Peninsula. So obviously it was another important supply town, just like Copper Harbor. There's a nice little beach. We're gonna come back to it later, as well as explore what this little town is. It's a very small town. Like, we've practically driven through the entire thing. But before we do that, the first place I wanted to check out to show you guys some of these really cool old lava flows is the lighthouse. But wow, look at, And welcome to the Eagle Harbor Light Station. In 1851, the original lighthouse was commissioned. It was a wooden tower which quickly deteriorated and was replaced in 1871 by the present red brick structure. After being served under 21 keepers during its first 129 years, the lighthouse became automated in 1980. And apparently there are 3 separate museums in this site as well: a maritime museum, Keweenaw History Museum, as well as this commercial fishing museum. They're all closed for the season, as almost everything in the Keweenaw Peninsula seems to be. But as you can tell, the lighthouse, or I guess I'm gonna get a better vantage point, these are some of those ancient lava flow rocks I was talking about earlier. And the lighthouse itself was built on very similar metamorphic rock. These are some of those ancient lava flow rocks I was talking about earlier. Virtually all of these rocks were created by those old lava flows, and those old lava flows also resulted in very shallow waters. You can see some of the rocks jutting out, which is why this lighthouse was necessary. I'm walking out to the edge of this rock for a beautiful view of the lighthouse. Wow. Apart from a few old buildings, it really is just wilderness. Oh, what is this down here? That's metal. You really feel like you're at the edge of the earth. Now that building way off in the distance is the Eagle Harbor Life Saving Station, which would later become the Coast Guard office. It was originally built in 1912 and remained in service until 1950. And up here on this little deck, it shows traditional freighters are about 750 feet in length and carry 26,000 tons. Duluth would be the biggest port on Lake Superior. Oh, so 35 million metric tons of cargo go to Duluth and Superior, Wisconsin. Iron ore is 50% of it, grain is about 10%, coal is 30%, and the other is 10%. Yeah, so Duluth and Superior are 200 miles away. Isle Royale is about 50 miles. Canada is 80 miles. And then I'm 200 miles from the Sioux Locks, which were built in Sault Ste. Marie, the oldest town in the Upper Peninsula. There's some other interesting exhibits, it appears. But as we head back to town, this building on my left is currently for sale. It says it's a 2-bedroom, 0-bathroom house. There's no plumbing, but it was built back in 1850. It is going for $120,000 if you want to buy yourself a little piece of history. Yeah, that wood really looks like it was built in 1850. But as we drive back into town, there isn't much information available about the peak population of Eagle Harbor, but it was never quite as big as the mining towns. The current population of Eagle Harbor is only 69, and the median age is 75.1 years. Oh, there's a Eagle Harbor House plaque. Yeah, let's read this sign right here. Eagle Harbor House. Built by the Eagle Harbor Mining Company in 1845, Eagle Harbor House opened to boarders and travelers in 1846. It is the last remaining log building of the first 4 in Eagle Harbor. So I'm guessing it is this building right here. It does not look to be inhabited. The paint is still in great condition if this building was built back in 1846. Let's cross the Lone Road and check out the beach here. Now, 60% of Eagle Harbor's population is over the age of 65. It's almost all retirees here. And there seem to be a lot more houses than just 69 people living here. I wonder how many people have summer homes, because it does not look like, say, Amique, where a lot of the buildings just look abandoned. I'm sure many are, but there's a lot of homes here. I thought Copper Harbor was a sleepy town. I did see quite a few people at least out and about in Copper Harbor. I've not seen a single person other than that UPS truck, which appears to still be doing their deliveries. Yeah, there's a lot of beautiful buildings here. It just doesn't seem like people really live in them. I am on Center Street right now, which would have been historically the main street in town. And over here on the right is the old schoolhouse, which was originally built back in 1853, and it was in use until 1892. So here we have the Rathbone School. There appears to be a church behind it. It says Eagle Harbor School. After serving the once busy mining port of Eagle Harbor, the school fell into disrepair until it was recognized as the birthplace of a fraternal order, Knights of Pythias, that once claimed 908,000 members in the US and Canada. And it says here, President Lincoln himself even endorsed this fraternal order. So today it is a museum. And then right across you have a playground as well as the Eagle Harbor Township. I guess this is the town center. I guess people could vote right there. Yeah, that's your absentee ballot drop box. I would imagine there are not many kids, if any kids, that live at Eagle Harbor, but there probably were at one point. Some beautiful homes, but nobody. Literally not a single soul out and about. A lot of this town is like a living history museum, a place to burn wood, and an old locomotive right here. I want to see if there's a little placard. Oh, I think that's a volleyball court. Yeah, the net would go in the middle. There's no sign. It's just an old locomotive sitting here in the middle of Eagle Harbor. Maybe there used to be a sign, but it's worn off. I have to say, it is a strange layout of the town, but I'd imagine this town was laid out a long, long time ago. There's no way only 69 people live here. Half of these homes have to be completely abandoned, but they're all in great shape. But here is the Holy Redeemer Church, built back in 1854. Now, the town of Eagle Harbor and a lot of its buildings are very old, I'm not gonna lie. But the next town we are going to visit was actually the first ever town on the Keweenaw Peninsula. And as we leave, here we have Eagle Harbor Inn Food and Lodging, the lone restaurant in town. And there's the same UPS truck driver. I keep finding this guy. I do not envy, but I also praise whoever drives that UPS truck around the entire Keweenaw Peninsula. Everyone give that dear soldier your salutes. Right here we have Great Sand Bay. This beach is apparently bustling in the summertime. Now it is completely empty. The way the sun is poking in, I need to stop here. Guys, when I say the Upper Peninsula is virtually whatever your heart desires, I mean, there are literally no other people at any of these absolutely magical places. Like here, Great Sand Bay. I guess there's a private beach that way. Boo-hoo! Every beach should be public. Oh wow, look at that. Something was built. But how is this Michigan, actually? I feel like I'm in Hawaii, California, or Oregon somewhere. I think that building way off in the distance, if you see the little gold dome, that is the Church of Eagle River. Nobody is actually on this beach. Oh, I guess there's a little creek right here that goes into the beach as well. This is just, I'm speechless. Now I just passed the sign that says watch out for sand on the road, as even though we are very high up off of Lake Superior right now, there are massive sand dunes on both sides of the road. There's one right there. Look at that. It's a steep road. That is an estate if I have ever seen one. Oh, it's a church. That's the gold dome I saw from the other beach. So we're not quite yet at Eagle Harbor. We still have maybe 3 or 4 miles to go. Looks like a community garden. And what's this up here? So I'm not sure exactly what that building is. Snow plows and road maintenance would make a lot of sense, however. This building is the Jam Pot Bakery, Jams, and Jellies. So maybe that church, because that was a big church for being in the middle of nowhere, maybe they attract people from all over the country. I do know that this place apparently has great bakeries, great jams especially, and that you have to try the thimbleberry jam, which is native to the Keweenaw Peninsula. It is closed. The last day was October the 12th, and thimbleberry jam is gone for the season as well. Let's see what day they reopen. Oh, so the church service is here as well. I'd imagine they reopen in May or June once tourism picks up again. This is one of the primary stops between Eagle Harbor and Eagle River. Oh, I think there's people inside actually. Yeah, there's someone up there. Right behind the Jam Pot, however, just here on the left, you can kind of hear it. Running water. Would you look at that? My best friend of the day so far. The UPS truck driver. But UPS truck driver aside, if I know anything about the Upper Peninsula, it's that there are waterfalls galore just on the side of the road. In my other Upper Peninsula video, I found 3 just chilling on the side of the road. This one is Jacobs Falls. It will eventually dump into Lake Superior. Waterfalls, lighthouses, and copper. The 3 things that are synonymous with the Keweenaw Peninsula. But welcome to Eagle River. Founded in 1843, It is the oldest town in the Keweenaw Peninsula, Thimbleberry Jam, the Jam Lady. And it's also the least populous county seat in the state of Michigan. Yes, this unincorporated community, population 65, is Keweenaw County's county seat. And almost the entire city is a living history museum. Just like Copper Harbor, there is no service here, but Eagle River, just so you get a little sense of where it is, 7.5 miles southwest of Eagle Harbor and 3 miles northeast of the Central Mine. Which is why it became such a booming shipping port back in the day, as the Cliff Mine and countless others in the area used the port here on the Eagle River to ship out their copper. Lakeshore Drive Bridge was completed in 1915, 139 feet long, 17 feet wide. So that is the current highway. I think I would trust the truss bridge more than the wooden bridge, but holy, those are Eagle Falls that descend into the Eagle River. What? And you gotta remember, that is a dam, so this waterfall used to be even more powerful. We are really up here on this gorge though. Whoa. Look at that structure. In 1843, the Lake Superior Copper Company purchased several land leases for mining. In 1861, Keweenaw County was set off from Houghton County and Eagle River became the county seat. So yes, as I mentioned earlier, despite being an unincorporated community and having a population of just 65 residents, Eagle River is Keweenaw County's county seat. This here is the Keweenaw County Courthouse, originally built back in 1866. And there's also a sheriff's residence as well as a jail, which was built in 1886. And this building over there that I walked by earlier is now the Eagle River Museum, but it was originally built back in 1912 as a school. So as we are soon going to find out on this tour of Eagle River, pretty much the entire town, or at least the main historic district, is an outdoor museum. I do believe, yeah, so this would be someone's actual house right there. Well, I think actually all the people that work for the county still work in this building right here, even though it's from 1866. And yeah, sheriff, so I guess that's still the main sheriff office, even though the building was built way back in 1886. Straight ahead is the Gitche Gumee Bible Camp. But yeah, even though the population of this town is only 65 today, it is quite a large footprint. So I guess the modern iteration of the courthouse was renovated in 1925. It's a beautiful building, 1866. 1925. Now, if you're wondering why this town has such a seemingly large footprint, as we see the UPS driver yet again, it's because at its peak, there were around 1,500 residents who lived here. Now, granted, that was over a century ago, and there are actually no homes currently for sale. A lot of the town is now a quote-unquote historic district, so I don't believe you're even able to own many of these homes, which the county have taken over. But I love how they've preserved so much of the history. And this here is the Jam Lady, jams, jellies, and syrup. Thimbleberry Jam is what they are known for. Now, this company started in the late 1800s selling jams, but the current store, which is just this old house here, was built in the 1950s. They are also closed for the season. Oh, it says open. Maybe let's actually try to go inside, see if they are open. It says open 24/7? Okay, maybe they always just have the sign open. There's no way this is open. Let's see though. Oh, it is open. Oh, it's 24/7 because you pay by yourself. Pay and coffee can behind you. So nobody actually operates it, but you can buy jams year round. Only in the Upper Peninsula would a company trust every single person to pay the honest amount. Wild Thimbleberry syrup and then wild Thimbleberry jam, $12. This is what it looks like. Well, that was a cool experience. Let's walk through a little bit more of Eagle River now. There's actually a cool lighthouse. But yeah, these are all homes. I think people live in these homes too. It's interesting because I've been to quote unquote living ghost towns before. This town doesn't feel like a ghost town. It seems like the town is very well maintained. People live here still, just not many people. And a lot of these homes are probably only summer residences. But the homes that are here are stunning. Look at this one. But Douglas Houghton, of whom the city of Houghton is named after, and whose fieldwork is accredited with starting the first copper boom in American history, actually kept surveying the Keweenaw Peninsula until 1845, where on one of his surveying missions, he drowned in this here Eagle River. Now it's interesting how the river is so still here before it dumps into the, oh, it doesn't even dump into the ocean anymore. There's a little block of land right there. Across that bridge, however, is the Eagle River Lighthouse, built back in 1855. I've already walked all the way down the hill. I might as well go one more block to the beach. It's fascinating how, oh, these are remains of old buildings, aren't they? I was about to say, like, it's fascinating how prime real estate right here is just trees, but I guess these used to all be other structures. So in a way, it is a little bit of a living ghost town. It was a little hard to visualize, but way before highways, way before cars, way before roads, this was a town of 1,500 people. Yeah, where did they keep diverting this river to? I gotta see where it flows in. Oh, it does go in eventually. They just built up a rock wall. Yeah, there's where the Eagle River meets Lake Superior. And that home truly feels like it's at the edge of the world. Oh, look at this water flow. Look at all the minerals in the stones down there. And while it's usually very cloudy in the Keweenaw Peninsula, the sun has finally come out. This is Mary Long, an Eagle River native. Did you live here your whole life?
I left for 19 years, but I grew up here and my family's been here since 1847.
Since the very beginning?
Pioneers, so to speak.
And so you probably heard stories of when this was like a booming town?
Oh yeah, and I like to do research too, genealogy research and just historical research.
And how was it like growing up? What was the population?
It was definitely more than it is now. It was more working people raising their children, which now it's retired people.
It's all retirees now.
Hi! Hi! Hi, you to get together! Okay.
Everyone knows everyone, I'm assuming?
Oh, yes.
Okay. It's obviously quite isolated and remote up here. Do you like that?
Yes, I like when the summer people come, but I also like when I call it going back to normal in the fall when everybody's gone and it's very quiet and peaceful. And not that it's not, it's fun in the summer, but yeah, I don't mind it at all.
Do you know if your family worked in the copper mines in the area?
Both sides of my father's family were here, and they did some, but not predominantly. My great-great-grandfather owned a hotel and a saloon. My great-grandfather on the other side was a farmer.
Okay. And have you heard stories? Do you know like what the towns were kind of like way back when?
They were wild. This town was wild. There was a lot of drinking, and there were feuds between the Irish and the Cornish in the saloons. There
brick
was a
structures?
hotel here.
So right here was a hotel where those trees are.
And then there were some other buildings too. Actually, I have a picture at my house.
And was that already gone by the time you were born?
Oh yeah, that burned. The hotel burned in 1912, I believe it was.
Do you know what the main economy is now in the Keweenaw?
In the tourism.
It's almost all tourism. Okay.
Now, yeah. Oh yeah, lots of Airbnbs.
What's your opinion on that?
Well, I have one, so
okay.
I think they're okay, but anything in excess can be an issue.
There's a lot of buildings here, but the population's only 65, I read?
72 in the last census.
Oh, 72 now.
In the 2020 census. I'm sort of thinking we're going to have maybe 14 here this winter.
Okay, so only 14 total people in the town. Right. So 72 is the summer.
Well, that's the whole township. This is Houghton Township.
So most of these houses are empty?
Yes, they're summer people. Retired summer people that go away in the winter.
So the population's 14 during the winter in Eagle River.
Yeah, it's been as high as 21, but I think this winter it's looking like 14.
You lived here a lot of your life. What was the most snow you remember in 1 year?
Oh my goodness. I think 300 is probably average.
300 inches? Okay.
300 inches, yeah.
What does being a Yooper mean to you?
I think we're resilient. We're kind of tough. I think good work ethic. Nice to
perfect.
meet you.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you, Mary Long.
Bye-bye.
Well, that was fascinating, hearing from someone whose ancestors have lived in this very town for 177 years. And speaking of ancestors, my grandmother was actually from our final town, which at one point was the largest city in the Keweenaw Peninsula with a population over 60,000 residents. Let's head to Calumet. I'm just realizing this probably used to be one of the main drags with storefronts up here in Eagle River as well. And welcome to Calumet. Originally founded in 1864 as a town called Red Jacket, by 1890 it was by far the largest city in this region, one of the wealthiest in the nation, and the center of the copper boom, with a population over 60,000 residents. Today, its population 621. What happened? Well, let's drive through historic Calumet. It looks like it's all been converted into a national park. Wow. That is crazy. And by 1910, this Coliseum was built. Welcome to the Calumet Coliseum, which is actually the oldest continuously operating ice rink in the United States. It has a seating capacity of around 700 people, and professional hockey was played here back when Calumet was a much bigger city. I wonder if the entire city of Calumet is a historical park. And we haven't even entered like close to the downtown area. These are just old buildings that have been so well preserved. Let's read what this locomotive over here was. Snow removal was serious business. To open the lines after a storm, a steam locomotive pushed the Russell snowplow through the snowdrifts. Wow, so you would literally have a locomotive just pushing this thing. Look how much snow was here back in the day. And look how big Red Jacket, as well as the neighboring city of Laurium's town plot is. This is 1915. As I mentioned earlier though, the original name of Calumet was Red Jacket. The population today, 621. I'd assume some of those 621 are school kids, as school has gotten out. It is currently 4:10 p.m. Coppertown Mining Museum. I actually visited the Quincy Mine in my Houghton video, and that entire ghost town is now a national park. Obviously, people still live in Calumet, but for all intents and purposes, it's a living ghost town. I didn't quite realize just how big Calumet was gonna be. I think all of that is the historic district. And then Laurium is another town which had a very big population and a lot of history as well. I do not believe I will be able to explore all of Calumet on foot. So let's get back in the car. I have never seen a city that is literally a museum and a city all in one. Oh, look at these buildings. Yeah, what is, that's a church. There's buildings that are probably at least 100 years old. Use the old signs. Wow, Calumet is a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be. I understand what they mean when they say 60,000 people lived in this city. These buildings look like they have been completely abandoned for quite some time. Holy. This is giving me Goldfield vibes. If you don't know what Goldfield is, I went to a ghost town which used to have about 30,000 people in the middle of Nevada. Now the population is about 200. This is bigger than Goldfield though. So this Chutes and Saloon building is still in operation. It was opened back in 1890. It does appear that a lot of these historic storefronts are now vacant. The Copper Country Firefighters History Museum. So this is probably the old fire station, 1898. And there's just a laundromat, a motel. Across from this here, Calumet Theater, which was built back in 1900 and is reportedly one of the most haunted places in the Upper Peninsula. And right next to the Calumet Theater is a color combination I don't believe I've ever seen on a house. Purple and orange, as well as many more old storefronts, houses. Holy, it just goes on, and with the mist coming. And look at that stop sign. Is it floating? Oh no, it's held on by the post next to it. I was like, is that stop sign floating? What? Look at that building. So much history in the city of Calumet, and this city is so much bigger than I thought it was going to be. Let's read what this sign over here says. Italian Hall Tragedy. By December 1913, thousands of copper miners had been on strike for 5 months. On Christmas Eve, hundreds gathered on the second floor of the Italian Hall to attend a holiday party. As the children filed to the stage to receive presents, someone yelled, "Fire!" People panicked and rushed towards the exit. There was no fire. Many were trampled on the stairs. Officially, 73 people died. More than half were children under 10, in honor of the Italian Americans who contributed greatly to this community. Wow. Oh, and these are the people that died on Christmas Eve, 1913. I feel like every other plot of land has some crazy story just like the Italian Hall one. This parking and storage building probably has an amazing story to tell as well. Woody Guthrie wrote the 1913 massacre song after learning about this tragedy. I'll be honest, I only have about 20 more minutes of daylight, and there's no way I'm going to be able to do Calumet justice. This is a much larger city than I anticipated. And while people still live here, I feel like it gives off more of a creepy ghost town vibe than a lot of actual completely dead ghost towns I've been in. Like even right here, just walking on the sidewalk, Is this a steam vent from one of the old mines? Of the little history I know so far about Calumet and Laurium, I feel like I could do an entire video just on this metropolis. So it's at 10,000 likes on today's video if you want to see that. Comment down any other fascinating regions of the country you want me to explore. And from one of the creepiest living ghost towns I have ever been in, I will see you all in around a week. And as we head back into Houghton, there are certainly clouds and precipitation. It's just a little too warm for that precipitation to be snow. It is 46 degrees Fahrenheit outside still as we cross the bridge one final time. I am excited to eat a pasty.